got like the Mike Thomas and the Cam Jordans and things like that. I just don't really think that he's going to be sitting there. Whereas I think McNichols is going to be one of those kind of guys who's just up in the air. If anything, he is the Christian McCaffrey, just the smaller version of him. He actually weighs more, but he's just shorter. I know he's not the Heisman vote that McCaffrey had when he finished second in 2015. I mean, he was pretty high in 2015 in the voting. He had a 2,000-yard rushing season. But that's why I'm kind of there on that one.
I have no problems with the pick. With you, I do believe the Saints are going to go offense at some point in the draft. It could be the first pick. It could be the first 4 picks. With Sean Payton in the offense, you never know because, again, it's going to be free agency will tell you, and I like to tell Saints fans this all the time, free agency will definitely tell you, by and large, which way the Saints want to go when it comes to the draft. If you know and believe the Saints need an offensive guard, and they signed 2 guards in free agency, chances are they're not picking a guard in the draft. And I think that's kind of, the telltale signs on what's going to happen. If you see the Saints make a certain move in free agency, don't think it's not that they won't double back. It's just that now it's not as much of a priority. So I definitely can see the Saints going offense at some point. Maybe, like I said, maybe even the first 3 picks. But for me, I would hope that defense is the plan, and we've seen them do that. Recently, 2015 draft after they took Andres Pete, they went defense very heavy. Unfortunately for them, Kakaha was injured, Stephon Anthony was a bust, and it kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of out of the way. I know Kyle. He just sent me a text. He was want to know what we thought about Dalvin Cook out of Florida State. He's another guy that I think because of his stats, his conference, and the Heisman type vote that he will probably go to a team that's drafting a little higher or is available earlier in the round. But, I mean, if he was available, if he managed to fall to the 3rd for whatever reason, I would jump on either him or McCaffrey for, if something happened. I don't want him in the first 2 rounds, though. That's what worries me. We have such glaring needs on defense. I don't think either guy's going to
last that long.
Yeah,
I don't think either guy's going to last that long.
With us having such glaring needs at things like edge rusher as it stands now, cornerback in terms of depth, and possibly even the starter, linebacker, I'd be very, very upset if we went running back. It kind of in a lot of the ways that people were upset when we traded back for Ingram, even though Ingram, in terms of stats, has really panned out well for us. But overall, I would like us, if we're going to go offense anywhere in the 2nd round, to me it has to be tight end because there's not really a guard in the draft that I've seen so far that's worth a 1st or 2nd rounder. There's a guy out of Notre Dame that I think is worth a 3rd round. He's probably one of the better guards in the draft. We could probably pick him up in the 3rd. But if we go anywhere, there's a lot of receiving tight ends that could help replace that failure of a signed Kobe Fleener. That if we went anywhere offense, that's where I'd want him to go. But I'm getting high on McNichols just because I think that's where we're going to head towards in the middle of the pack. Kind of like how we've gone to Jari Evans and Carl Nix in the middle when we really needed to build that offensive line.
I'll say this to answer Kyle's question as far as Cook is concerned. I agree with Rev, and I did it. I don't think he's definitely not lasting outside of the first top of the draft. So if he makes it past the 1st round, he's not going to fall any further than the second early part, maybe the first 10 picks of the 2nd round. I don't think he's going to go that far. I think he's a 1st-round pick. In fact, I've seen some mock drafts that have him getting drafted before Leonard Fournette. Again, I put no stock in the mock draft. I do it just to kind of check out the draft order more than I do the guys who they're saying are going to go anywhere, because at this point, I believe I saw one mock draft that had the Cleveland Browns taking the North Carolina quarterback. I believe his name is Trubisky, and he hasn't even declared for the NFL draft yet. So that's why I put no stock. It's kind of ridiculous at this point. Mm-hmm. I love what Barry did with his article, because if the draft should go that way, he more or less, it wasn't about just that he focused on the positions of need. It was the guys that seemed to be the proper fit. It doesn't matter where Derek Barnett and the Saints make a marriage to be together. I like that union. So I don't care if if the Saints make it, they win the next 2 games, and instead of them picking at 13, they're picking at 19. I don't care, as long as when Roger Goodell gets up there and he says whatever pick it is in the 1st round of the 2017 draft, the New Orleans Saints select, Derek Barnett. I don't care whether it falls. I just like to hear it happen. Now, mind you, that changes if the Saints sign Jason Pierre-Paul, because then you could definitely hear the 19th pick, the Saints select Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook. It could happen. But I don't think that's going to happen. I would like it not to happen. But this is the Saints and this is Sean Payton.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of almost have to taper our enthusiasm for a lot of this because we have no idea how it's going to turn. Just like, as Kyle just pointed out to me in text, we all expect Drew Brees to make the playoffs, yet him and Matthew Stafford got snubbed for a rookie. So we have no idea how it's going to go any given year, off-season wise.
Let me point out real quick, because I just happened to check Twitter. I'm not sure if you guys discussed it or not when I paused out for a break, but the Saints did not have a single player voted for the NFL Pro Bowl.
Yeah, complete snub. Cam Jordan didn't get it, even though he ranks as one of the best 4-3 in the NFL. You know, stuff like that. So and Mark Ingram didn't get it. Brandin Cooks didn't get it. And Michael Thomas. Apparently, you got to be on a winning team.
Which bothers me because Joe Hayden is a Pro Bowl alternate.
Yeah, I know. I announced that earlier. It really bothers me.
You know, I tend to try to ignore Pro Bowls and stuff like that because, quite honestly, I feel like this. There are only two all-star type events that I even pay attention to be honest with you. I love Major League Baseball. I love their all-star game, and I love the NBA's all-star game. I'm not really big into hockey, but I know they do it well. I'd like to see hockey kind of switch what they do. And instead of it being this all-star game that they kind of, have, I'd like to see them do that thing when they kind of have an outdoor stadium and they play the game outdoors and they sell out like maybe Michigan Stadium with 100,000 people. I'd like to see that be their all-star game instead of just doing it for, just for the fun of it. I'd like to see that be their all-star game. But, I'm not a hockey guy, so whatever they do is what they do. But the NFL Pro Bowl is a joke. Yeah. I don't even think they should play the game. I think you should just kind of name guys for the Pro Bowl, give them their checks, and just forget about the game. Let it just be like an award, an accolade, like most valuable player or something. Why even have the Pro Bowl at this point? Nobody wants to play in it, and it's ridiculous because it seems as if the guys voting on the Pro Bowl, no matter if it's fans or media, it's a popularity contest. How do I know this? Because just this week, the NFL.com, that is the league's official website, their Twitter handle, put out the best wide receiver trio in football. And it was the New York Giants. Victor Cruz, Odell Beckham, and Sterling. I want to say his name is Sterling Moore. But if that's the best trio in football, maybe I missed it, but Brandin Cooks, Willie Snead, and Michael Thomas must have passed away and nobody told me about this. And the fact that so many fans were outraged about it, they even put up a top 5 list of wide receiver trios in the NFL. And their selection of the New York Giants was nowhere to be found in the top 5. So how are they the best trio in football if they can't even make their top 5 list? This is why I no longer like to pay attention to anything that, this Pro Bowl and all of these wannabe made up stuff. It's all for clicks. It's not about information anymore. Nobody wants to do it the way Barry does it. Nobody wants to do it the way guys like Nick Underhill, Rev, myself. Nobody wants to do it that way because everybody's looking to get the next hot take and the next splash topic out there. But yet you look at guys like myself, like Rev, like Barry, and you say, well, I don't like what they say, so I won't pay attention to it. Because it's honest. And it's not the norm of what you're getting now. Right now, instead of eating filet mignon, you're eating turkey beef. Not that there's anything wrong with turkey beef, but I mean, if I had a choice between a filet and a turkey beef, I'm going to take filet every single time. Give me a porterhouse steak. You can have chitlins. Nothing wrong with it. You can eat it. But I'll take a porterhouse instead. We give you porterhouse. They give you chitlins. And for some reason, you tend to like it and don't see that it stinks when you're cooking it. It's okay. We'll still be here when you're ready to wake up.
Mm-hmm. Well, on to hopefully more positive topics because we are about to hit that 9 o'clock mark. What do you think about this upcoming Bucs game? What can we do different to come out with a win? And do you think we will?
I'll be at the Bucs game this Saturday, so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing one thing and one thing only: energy and effort. Just give me that. Let me see the same team that I saw that wouldn't quit in Arizona when Arizona, basically they had every reason to fold because they couldn't put Arizona away, and Arizona actually took an early lead. Let me find that team. Find a team that wouldn't give up. Let me find a team that's looking to build for. Like you understand that the playoffs are an outside chance, but it's not about the playoffs. It's about next season. Let's build some momentum towards next season. Why? Mm-hmm. Because if all goes well and it goes according to my theory, the Saints will be a contender next season because this will be their quote unquote. This will be their 2008 season. We've already talked about this. 2 subpar seasons. All of a sudden, a season where you kind of end on a little bit of a winning streak. Everybody comes into the offseason feeling good. You make a few shrewd moves and a few key additions to boost your team, and all of a sudden, voila, magic, you're on a roll. And hopefully, because you have a last place schedule or one of the a mediocre schedule, it can boost you into some false confidence early to where you believe in yourself. And before you can actually understand that maybe you're not as good as everybody thinks you are, you're 10-4, or maybe something like that. So this game, I want to see energy and effort. I think the Saints will pull it out. 27-21. I'm sorry, 27-23. And I think the reason they do so is because the Bucs were riding a really, really high emotional wave. And I think right about now is when they come back to reality and they realize maybe we aren't that playoff team that we thought they were. Like the Bucs have more of a reason to kind of venture off into thinking, what if? Well, if we beat the Saints, maybe we get into the playoffs. The Saints aren't thinking that way. The Saints just need to worry about winning this game because they have too many scenarios in which they need help.
Yeah.
So I want to see the Saints come out and just show me the team that beat the St. Louis Rams. Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
Well, I think what worries me for this game is the Saints have relied a lot at home on the fans really coming out and support. And I'm not dogging fans right now, but you're not going to have a very full stadium on Christmas Eve at 1 o'clock. You're just not. I mean,
the game is at 3.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. It did get moved up to 3.
And it is on Saturday. And I'm guessing if there's nothing else better for you to do, then you go to the Saints. And you already be licking up because it's a holiday.
Yeah, I mean,
I just
a Saturday game on Christmas Eve now set up to the middle of the day, which if you had diehards who had planned around it for the earlier game, probably aren't going to go now. A lot of people do family events and stuff both Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I mean, I'm not sure how everybody is, but like my wife, she'll work on Christmas. So if we're going to spend time together, it's Christmas Eve, stuff like that. I don't see the the Superdome having 70,000 fans packed in it. I mean, we'll be lucky to hit half that number, honestly, on a Christmas Eve game. And I say that it's important because when the Saints were so dominant, that stretch where they would win like 8 straight home games, is because the Dome was rocking and we really drew penalties on the other offense. I mean, we affected the game. Right now, there is no dome field advantage because the Saints aren't a winning team. The fans aren't really into it right now. That doesn't mean they're not fans. It's hard for you to get really up and moving when you're looking forward at 7-9. So I don't know. It's a toss up for me. I do have us winning simply because the Saints always split with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We do it every year. We do it with basically every division opponent. We're going to split the series. We're going to win. I'm putting it around a 27-21 game. I think we finally show up. We'll see, though. At this point this year, I'm kind of out of predicting, I guess.
Yeah, for all those that don't follow me on Twitter, if you follow me every day, I do this, this grand, arrival, if you will, to kind of make fun of the fact that I finally made it to Twitter for the day. And last week for the game, my arrival was just that I was Morgan Freeman, when he was looking at the parole board from Shawshank. I really didn't care I didn't care either way. And it's kind of how I feel about this game. I'm going to the game. It's going to be an outing. And, I'm definitely going to support the team that I talk about more often than not. So I'll definitely be there. But,